Welcome to Rate the Dream, Life, Love, and Mortgages. I'm your host, Melissa Landon. Thanks for joining us for Military Appreciation Month. I have my friend Kelly Laubenheimer here, and she's going to talk about all things military spouses, real estate, and moving. Thanks for coming.
Well, when you posted, I'm looking for someone, I'm like, not only am I one, I am one currently.
And you're still current, because he's still active duty.
He is.
So you guys could go move again.
I am not moving again.
Okay.
I'm not. We call this for our Weil house. So in our hearts, I think we're more like Appalachia, Eastern Tennessee, North Carolina area. But we have kids, and by the time we moved here, my oldest was going into 7th grade, and that was his 7th school, and I was like, we're done.
Yeah.
This kid's gonna get through high school. The second one's gonna get through high school. We have a very quick year that we can make a decision if we are gonna hunker down, and then the next one. So 12 to 15 years is here. And he's all ready to move, and I'm like, I would not have gotten back into this, and that really did I hesitated to get back into real estate because it's such a long game.
Yeah, it is.
And moving every 2 to 3 years, which is what our schedule was. Mm-hmm. I think the longest we lived somewhere was 3.5 years. So I was like, we're going to be here for a while. Now I can get back to what I love doing. Yeah. So that's why we're here for a while.
Okay.
And he actually lives in Charleston, which is super awkward.
Oh.
Yeah, because, the beginning of the year, my kids are going in, and I want, especially the little guy, he's in 2nd grade. And so I'm telling the teacher, I'm like, just so you know, his dad lives in Charleston. We're still all married. And
the fact that you have to even explain that is
But the way you say it, because families are so different and dynamic. So I didn't want her to think he was, we're divorced. There's a divorce situation. Yeah. Which is totally okay. But, when he says things like, I'm going to Dad's house this weekend, you're also going with Mom to Dad's house. Okay. And we're together. And we just...
So you guys own the house down there?
We do own a house down there. So we live in a townhouse down there, his bachelor pad. It's called geo-bacheloring. So he lives down in Charleston, and he's on a cutter. So he just got back from a 4-month deployment, and he'll be back this summer, and then they're going to get underway again. So it's a 2-year billet. So he went last February. Okay. So we got another almost the rest of this year, and then a few more. He can retire July 2026.
Okay, so a year from this summer.
Just,
okay. Do you think he'll re-enlist?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to let him retire. Let's just...
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't have a plan. You're not going to sit home. So I think he has to come up with something, because this is what he's been doing for 20 years. So now, did he do this before you guys got married? So we met in 2004 on an airplane, actually.
Oh, that's great. I want to know this story.
And I was really talkative, and I totally picked him up. I am taking full credit. I did the work here. And I found out he was at the Coast Guard Academy at the time. Okay. And I went to college in Rhode Island. And so we just hit it off. We were engaged by that December. So 4 months later, we got engaged. He graduated from the academy in 2006. There we go. And we got married 3 days later. Nice. And so everybody's like, oh, you had to know what you're getting yourself into, right? Yeah. And I was like, no. I had no idea. No clue. Because 20 years ago, these cutters didn't go out for more than 100 days. And then in that short span, the economy crashed. So he thought after 5 years that he'd separate from the service, and we'd just be civilians. Right. But 2008 happened, and the economy crashed. We owned a house at a time. We both realized, even if we were both working full time, we weren't going to find, what we were going to find if he just stayed in. So that really did make our decision. So to stay in, for him to stay in, I guess it is a team effort.
Yeah, it's a team effort. It's 100% a team effort.
So that really did, 2008 really did determine that he would stay in. And so that was, 13 years ago?
And where were you guys living at that point?
So we had just bought a house in Massachusetts.
First time buying?
Our first time home, so I'd already been a real estate agent for a couple of years down in North Carolina. Okay. I actually referred myself up to Massachusetts.
So you knew enough to know kind of the ins and outs of it. Did you know the ins and outs of VA loans?
Yes.
Okay, well, yes, as a realtor, you knew enough to know. Okay.
So, but the house we bought was legitimately falling down. And so we were denied our VA loan 10 days prior to closing because the chimney needed repointing, which is when there's just 2 bricks missing on the edge of the chimney. And the woman who lived there was 94, and her kids did not live near her, so there was no one to fix this.
Oh man.
We offered to go fix it, and they said no. So we actually took a loan at 8%, a conventional loan at 8% because we were young, had no credit. Yeah. I mean, we were 24, 25-ish. So yeah, not a lot of credit history or, stuff to work with.
Yeah.
But we had to close because we would have lost our earnest money and if we didn't complete the transaction. So yeah, we took 8% in 2008, which when I see what we've gone through in the last year and a half, I'm like, guys,
it's not that serious, right?
It's not that bad. Like we refinanced 2 years later, and we ended up holding that house we sold it in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from there, where'd you guys go?
So from Massachusetts, we then got, I guess we started in North Carolina. That's where we started. We were then transferred up to Boston. We spent 3 years there. And then we were transferred out to California. So he was stationed in Alameda, and we were there for 2 years.
Did you sell the Boston house when you moved?
We did not.
You kept it?
Yeah. So that was our first house. We bought it in 2008. We kept it. We renovated it ourselves.
Nice.
We did everything ourselves. I know. I tell the kids, I'm like, guys, YouTube was just coming out. Like it wasn't a thing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they would have no idea. These kids would have no idea to do anything without YouTube.
We used to go to Lowe's and we're like, all right, we have to learn how to tile. We got a book on tiling. And then the best part is our first tile job, we actually ripped out and redid because when we got to the end of the book, it had all these tips and tricks of how to do great tiling.
Yeah.
And I thought, why would they not put this
in the beginning of the book?
Right. So our first tile job was awful. We ripped it out, we redid it. He's awesome at tiling now. We've mastered it.
Good to know. That's nice.
So,
all right, so you renovated, kept that. Now we're in California.
Now we're in California. We rented in California.
Okay.
And then we moved to, he got grad school. So we moved to Williamsburg. To think, Williamsburg, Virginia. He went to William & Mary for grad school, so we were down there for 2 years, and we did purchase down in Williamsburg.
Okay.
And we also held that house when we moved up to Manassas.
Okay.
Where we also purchased.
So now we own Boston.
We own in Boston.
We own Williamsburg.
And we now own in Manassas. And Manassas was a little bit of a fixer-upper. Mm-hmm. It was
any of these. Okay, so Boston's conventional loan. Williamsburg, did you guys use your VA loan?
Not yet.
Not yet. Another conventional loan.
Another conventional loan.
Okay. Any reason why?
I'm not really sure. I think it had to do with rates at the time, or I'm not really sure. Okay. We actually it wasn't until our last transaction that we used a VA loan.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are restrictions on how often you can use them.
So they're yes and no, but it's weird. So if you're buying it and it's your primary, you can use it. And then if you exit it, it's fine. So the entitlement stays. But if you're moving out and you buy this one, you can rent this one, and this one can be your VA, but you lose an entitlement as you go.
Yes.
So, okay.
So there was knowing that we'd be in these places for
short periods of time.
Williamsburg technically was only a year and a half. He was in an 18-month program.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I stayed 2 years.
Okay.
With the kids, and he traveled between headquarters up here and down there for 6 months until they finished the school year out, and we found a house up here. So then we bought Manassas. That was a little bit of a fixer-upper. We fixed that one up. And then we started selling houses.
Okay.
So we were then stationed out in California again. So we sold the house in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And then a year later, we sold the house in Williamsburg. And then finally, we sold the house in Manassas. And that's when we transferred out to California.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so we spent some time in California, and then we got stationed. Hold on, we had to hold. No, I'm lying. We did hold one house. I don't remember which one. It might have been Williamsburg. Sorry.
That's okay. No, that's okay. It's your story.
I know that we held one because it wasn't until 2022 that we had no houses.
Okay.
So in August of 2022, we were completely clear.
And so renting these two, we'll back up a little bit. You're in charge. You're being landlord.
Yeah.
For all of these,
yes.
Because he's busy. He's going out on the deployment.
Yes.
So you're running all of this.
Yes. So
you're like Superwoman.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it was like a level of property management.
Yeah.
Having connections. Some interesting things have happened with the houses, and it's really hard to do property management when you're 2,000 miles away.
Yes.
So especially if you have tenants that are not favorable to repair work. So that's kind of what prompted selling the houses.
Yeah. Okay.
But we bought down in Florida, which was our best purchase to date.
Yeah.
That made the best. We bought it in 2020. So the summer of 2020.
So prime time of chaos, pandemic.
But right before everything started to rise price-wise, and then we sold it in the summer of 2022. So with all those transactions, we then purchased in our house that we live in now.
Okay, which is here in Nokesville.
Yeah,
okay.
in Nokesville.
And you used your VA on this one.
We did use our VA.
First time using it.
First time using it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool though. I mean, I guess also knowing you're only going to be there short term and going, you haven't settled. So he's in North Carolina, right? You said?
He's in South Carolina.
He's in South Carolina.
Yep.
And then you're up here, and then you guys go back and forth.
Yeah, well, he goes back and forth.
I
go. The kids and I will go down for like weekends here and there, but primarily we stay up here.
You stay up here, and he goes back and forth.
Because we have 3 dogs and 3 kids, and so moving like that whole operation is a lot harder than just moving him by himself.
Very true. Very true.
So. Okay.
And any of these, did you have to do power of attorney, or was he deployed any of the purchases?
I was trying to think of this, like how many of these. So I know the refinance that I did on our first house, I was power of attorney. So that's a fun, like 3 times the signatures.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a long last name.
Yes.
So, and that was back in 2010-ish. So you actually had to handwrite everything. Mm-hmm. Like you couldn't just use a stamp.
So it's really weird. So I did title before I came and did mortgages. And so, correct, you would have to handwrite out, Kelly Laubenheimer signing for blah, 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 power of attorney, in fact, blah, blah, and then sign it that way. Yes. And we would be there for hours. I would be there for hours because the person signing POA had to do all of that. Now, at least for mortgage docs, if we know, like it'll come with it like there. Mm-hmm. So you only have to sign it that way. So it takes out some of the painfulness of it, but it's still painful.
Yes. In 2010, the notary gave us a deal because there was so many signatures I had to do and so much writing that she usually would charge per signature. But in that case, she just gave us like a flat fee on it. And so we refinanced there. I did buy, I think, the house in Charleston myself. And let's see, I'm trying to think. He signed for me on the house in Florida. On selling them, I mean, I've really lost track.
It's a lot. Because, how many have you said you've bought?
So we've bought 6, and we've sold 4.
Okay.
And so I think that really, in all different states. So we've gone through some different processes,
and all the processes are different. Yes. The title, at least, is different in all of them.
Yes. So,
oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And he's obviously still active duty.
Still active duty. And, it's... so a house in Williamsburg, we lived in California at the time, so we literally flew for 5 days to Williamsburg, and our goal was to pick a house by the time we left. So we had 4 days on the ground to pick a house. The house in Florida, he flew ahead of us because it was during COVID. Okay. So, things were restricted, and he picked that house. I didn't see it until I literally was driving into the neighborhood and drove up to the house. I had not seen it in person. Our house here in Nokesville, we bought sight unseen.
Now, did your agent at the time do a video walkthrough or anything for you, or just pictures online?
Oh, no, it was a lot. So she just came out and showed us a lot. And we did a virtual tour of what the builder had put up, but we had never stepped into the house when we were already under contract for it.
But that's become very common. And even I think COVID also made that really common because sellers also weren't letting people in the houses. Right. So they were just their realtors. So video walkthroughs became a thing. But I do a lot of military closings, and they sign POA with someone here in the States, or they give it to the attorney to sign. Mm-hmm. They've never seen it. Sight unseen, same thing. Don't know the neighborhood, don't know. And I couldn't imagine that, because everyone's take, right? When you as a realtor, you take pictures, your view might be slightly different than when I walk into a house. Or you see pictures online.
Or the things you notice.
Or the things you notice that other people wouldn't notice.
Right.
Yeah.
She did tour one house for us prior to us finding this one. And my first question was does it have a smell? I know that seems weird, but there's things that you really can't portray through. Yes. And I'm really sensitive to smoke and cats. So I'm I need to know, because both of those will set off my asthma. So, there's some things you just find out. You're I had no idea this existed. I mean, who knows? But I think it's more common. Military families have been doing that forever. So it really, COVID wasn't this crazy thing to us. The idea that you're going to be buying something, not even for the house aspect of it, but even the family aspect of it, because you're such an island, a little bit. And obviously you have everyone else that you meet or whatever. Right, but if you aren't from a specific area, you make your own traditions. Your family unit really is your home. So when COVID hit, it wasn't this big, deviation of what we normally do. It was just like, okay.
Now everybody was doing that.
Now everybody's
you were like,
doing
what we're freaking out about? We've been doing this for years.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you don't get to see, your family members for a year. Like, we understand that. That kind of goes with the territory.
That's a good point. I never even thought about that. Yeah. But that's very, so many people live that way. We were all over here crying about it, and you guys were like, this is normal for us.
Yeah, obviously it's kind of weird to think that we lived through that, and that'll be like the moment that our kids will like the before and after.
Correct.
And for our age, it was before and after 9/11. And, you go back and all the generations have their before and after something happen. Yeah. And for our kids, it will be 2020, like the COVID year.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I tried to block it out so badly. Someone the other day was like, it's been 5 years. I'm like, really?
Someone said it's been 5 years.
5 years.
It just blew my mind. 5 years have gone by.
Yeah.
And then I have all these memories coming up, and it's like me attempting to homeschool my children.
Oh no.
That went over that was horrible.
So any advice you can give, or just that have tips and tricks that you've learned over the years that make it easier?
For moving or being a military spouse?
Both.
So the number one thing that I tell anybody, even if you're not a military spouse, but when you move to a new area, is to get involved in your community.
Yes.
So, and that I'm really involved in the school, but find what you're passionate about and jump in, because that's a good way to just feel more connected to the community. And also, you meet people who have similar interests, so make new friends and things. Yes. So that's the most important thing.
Well, being part of the school is key too, because there's lots of people there, and especially you said, if you're new to the area, where's you're going to see lots of people and men and women and make friends, and your kids can make friends being part of the school. You do a great job too,
Thanks.
By the way. And then for moving, if someone is watching this and they are doing video tours, or other than the smell thing, because that's a great tip. And I was actually in an open house a couple weekends ago with a realtor. And another realtor came in and was doing a video tour, and she said they do have pets, but you can't really smell. She noted, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because you can't smell anything.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten to that point, honestly, with technology.
True. Yeah, but it might be really bad. You turn your phone on, and be like, smell this, it smells really bad. Or like when you go to Disney, right? I don't know if you guys have been to Disney, but every hotel has a distinct smell. Every ride has a smell, and it's I don't know.
That's pretty cool. Every time when someone's like, smell this, I think of my son being like, smell my cleat. And it's going to smell.
Or these volleyball knee pads smell really bad. You want to smell them? And I'm like, I absolutely do not want to smell them.
There's not one inkling that I want to smell your smelly cleats. So the smelling thing, the video tours. I think it's really important to have a real estate agent who understands the acronyms. And all the things, like PCS is a common word, permanent change of station. Knowing that timeline, knowing you have to be really picky almost. You have to say exactly what you're looking for so your realtor can find that. You almost feel crazy writing the things down, but knowing exactly what you want will help narrow down your search. So when you do have boots on the ground, you can look at those things. And if you can't look at those things, that they're not wasting time. Yeah. I mean, one of my things is it has to be able to be a fenced yard. If it can't have a fence, then there's no interest. It has to have a 2-car garage. If it doesn't have one, there's no compromise.
No, but that's valid, because otherwise, like you said, you're not only wasting, if you do get a couple days to go visit the area, you're very limited, especially in the market we're in now, because a lot of times we're still in multiple offer situations. So you have to know exactly the houses you want to see them, be able to write an offer. If it doesn't get accepted, give yourself enough time. That's the hard part.
Right.
But then at least you're not wasting anyone's time. And if it's video tours, which we do a lot of, right? I have a lot of clients coming in overseas actually this season. And a lot of theirs have been, the video tours and signing power of attorney, but being very specific with your wants and your needs, and not being ashamed to say it too.
I sent an email one. This is on this last house that we bought, and it was after buying, 4 houses prior to this, moving, having rentals, living, all these places. I knew exactly what we were looking for. There was things that I categorized as needs that we have to have. There's no compromise. Wants. And things that I would consider a unicorn. If it had this, that would be amazing. But I don't need that to keep moving. So being able to check those boxes, especially as a real estate agent, because you have limited time to get to know your client possibly.
Yep.
So just knowing really what you need and want, and not being flippant about it.
Yeah.
If you need 4 bedrooms, say you need 4 bedrooms.
Yes.
Yes.
If you want the cat or the the smaller kitchen or the bigger kitchen. Everyone's got very specific.
If you don't cook, you may not care about the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, like if you work on cars, you might care about how big the driveway is and if it's shaded. I mean, it sounds like a crazy thing.
No, but that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a video like a few months ago, actually last year. The time just blends. Yeah. And if you are moving, I always talk about making like a moving box. That's the first box that you unpack in the house. So to put your basic needs in it.
Yeah, nice.
And this is something that we've picked up over, tons of cross-country moves. I have so many good memories. I really do. Like I'm saying that not even sarcastically, but you get to a house and your things are delayed by weeks or they just go missing. We've had that happen. Yep. And like in Florida when we moved there, our stuff literally went off the map. They couldn't tell us where it was. It was supposed to be a direct move. And I have this like image of my kids, all three of them, sitting around a cardboard box from the trash can that we bought, eating our dinner, and they had to go start school. And luckily the previous owner had left one of those plastic shelves. So we have a beach towel over it so that it's a table. And I have my kids like facing each other. But it's so fun, like these memories, that you get from this. But I always say, if you're moving, especially if it's going to be a couple days before you have your stuff, so make this box, have a frying pan, have foil, have some dish towels and some dish. It seems like common sense, but to have those immediately in the next house so that you can function as normal as possible.
I think that's great advice because all my moves have all been local. I'm born and raised in Northern Virginia. I've moved around different counties and different stuff, but I've never done long distance moves. So even if non-military and you're shipping your stuff, odds are.
Yes.
Right? But I've heard some military horror stories. Wouldn't have to go down there. But that's actually great advice to have. It's almost like when you travel and they're like, okay, on your carry-on, make sure you put a couple of your things just in case. We were always told that growing up.
Yes.
But it's
similar because, I think that's when I think of the most important thing that's kind of held us from drowning is getting back on that routine right away, whatever it is, but with your kids, with your family, with your pets, whatever it is. So if they're used to having cinnamon rolls every Saturday morning, be prepared to make cinnamon rolls Saturday morning. It's a simple thing, but it helps just make them feel more comfortable, makes that house feel more like a home faster.
Now traveling with pets, have you guys had the pets all the time?
All the time.
All the times you've moved?
Yes. So
now do you drive? So then like the long distance moves, like when you went to California and stuff, were you driving then with the kids and the pets or were we flying?
I've been told that we logistically make things more complicated than they should be.
Okay.
The first move from from North Carolina to Boston, it was just my husband and I and one dog, so that was pretty easy.
Right.
We drove our 2 cars up with a dog and like our trailer of 4 things.
Right.
But after that, we moved from Massachusetts to California, and we had 1 child at that point and 2 dogs, so we all loaded into our car and drove across country together, and that was the last time I ever did that.
Okay.
So from that point forward, my husband usually will drive a car with the pets. But in one of the moves, he was underway. So actually his best friend drove our car with our pets for us.
What a friend, man.
Amazing.
What a friend.
Listen, you know who your true friends are. My husband has also helped other friends move, and ride with them or drive a car or whatever it is. We usually ship cars. So we'll ship all the extra, my car or whatever car. We actually will ship one ahead of us.
Oh, that makes sense.
So for instance, moving from Florida to here, we shipped my car ahead of me. So when I got off the plane,
Brilliant. Yeah.
I
have a vehicle.
I had a car waiting for me, and then he drove up with the other car with the pets.
I love all this. I don't make little tidbits.
Yeah.
You should write a book. You should write military spouse how we move, like a cheat sheet of all the tricks.
Yes, but you pick it up.
Trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error. So some people are really great. If you have great kids that love to be in the car and get along perfectly and sit nicely for 18 hours, man, just go for it. But
so I would love for someone to tell me that a kid that does that. That sounds terrible.
My kids, we have about an 8-hour attention span in a vehicle. So going cross country, even long distance, even we drove down to Charleston for spring break, and that was a long trip.
Brutal.
They were getting antsy.
Mine are about 4. I think 4 hours. My parents have a lake house at Smith Mountain Lake, so we'll do that. That's about 3.5, 4. Some of the volleyball stuff, we went to Philly and we're going to Pittsburgh in a couple weeks. That's about the same thing. That's about the limit of but we're tall. My daughter's 6'2". She's like, I can't sit in the back, all this, and the little ones get squirmy, so I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, so
cross country.
But yeah, it's almost the same price too. We've like weighed it out. So one of us drives with the dogs, maybe has a friend. Like my father-in-law once rode with my husband across country. So, we usually have a friend go.
So he doesn't have to do it by himself.
Yes, because especially if you're traveling in the summertime with dogs, you can't leave them in the car when you're in Texas and it's 102 degrees. And the car, you don't want to leave your windows wide open at a random rest area.
Yeah.
So, you definitely need somebody with you.
To help, yeah.
To help.
And 3. Are they big dogs, little dogs?
They're labs.
Okay.
So they're big dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and also the other thing I'd say is be open-minded. So I think our society has come up with this idea of like a starter home and then your final home.
Yeah.
And I like to put the fact that there's like a lot of in-between homes. So when you're getting your starter home, think of what your true needs are at that point.
Yep.
And those needs are probably going to change 3 to 5 years down the line. And again, 3 to 5 years down the line. And again, 3 to 5 years down the line. And that's totally normal because we've moved away from this starter home and then maybe that's your forever home, or you start a home and then you go to your forever home. There's a lot in between.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've become more comfortable with because we move every 2 to 3 years. So every time we moved, our house has changed. Our first house was a 3-bedroom. By the time we finished this move, we had 19 years in, we're at a 5-bedroom. We didn't need a 5-bedroom. Oops, sorry.
That's okay.
We didn't need a 5-bedroom.
That's actually great advice. And it's funny because I was talking to first-time homebuyers the other day. They're non-military, but they're younger and they're not married yet, but they're getting married. They want all this stuff. And the prices around here are expensive. Mm-hmm. Interest rates are still on the higher side. I think we need to get used to those interest rates, right? We're not going to see the 2 ever again.
Just despite it and go
and so we're focusing on payment, not rate, is what we're doing. And she's like, but we need all blah, 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 blah. And I told her that. And I said, I think we do a starter home. Mm-hmm. I said, because average, non-military, but I guess probably factoring some in, people stay in a home 3 to 5 years. Typically, especially in their case, right? They're not married yet.
Right.
They have a dog and they don't know what they're going to do, what they're going to do. And I said the same thing. I literally said the same, a little different, but I was like, this is a beginner home. It could end up being your forever home, but I was like, what do you need now? And then she scaled all the things and she was like, oh, and I said, so now we're in a more reasonable price range, comfortable payment. But I said the same thing, 3 to 5 years. And a lot can happen in 3 to 5 years.
So much can happen in 3 to 5 years. And
especially military. You guys have better odds of going somewhere. Yeah.
But I don't know. That's one thing I like to encourage. Look at your now, and it might change. It might not change. You might come to love this house. You might build an addition so you can stay in this house.
True.
Or not.
Very true.
You might, but you can. Also, the benefit is if you scale down, you can get closer to the things you love to do. If there's activities you like, or if you work somewhere, you can have a shorter commute. Versus having to go further out to find that affordability.
Yeah.
So,
I would love for you to, because obviously you do real estate as well.
Yes.
So if you could give us all your information so people know how to contact you, and if they do have any questions, military-wise, if you would be open to conversation, I will share their information.
I'm Kelly Laubenheimer with Jacobs & Co. Real Estate, powered by LPT Realty. I'm out of Nokesville, Virginia. I love to work in western Prince William County and Fauquier. I will go as far west as Warren, Culpeper, and Orange counties. And I love to help anybody, especially first-time home buyers, military members. There's really not anybody I don't like to help, though. I love to meet people. I love to help them realize their dream of real estate. And truly, real estate is some of my favorite things to do. And it combines talking with people, sales, marketing, and negotiation. So those are my favorite things to do, and that's why I stepped back into real estate. I've had my license here in Virginia for about 2 years, and I just look forward to growing and helping as many people as possible. That's what I wanted to say. Wait, this is important.
Okay.
On the in-between house, but be flexible on your living situation. So fun fact about me is when we moved up here, we actually lived in a camper for 3 months because our house was not ready yet. And so 3 dogs, 3 kids, and my husband and I in a camper. It was a very nice camper. But sometimes, you do have to look at those different living situations to get the house you want. So it's a temporary situation. But
that's good advice.
I don't know. I think you have to think outside the box to make sure that you get to where you want to get to. It's not forever.
Yeah. Hey!